Hi there, Chris Navard here again, and today we're going to have a close-up look of Catcott Burtle, a 5-foot long layout I built back in 2008. It depicts a section of the Somerset and Dorset line which sort of existed, sort of didn't exist. This bit here is based on reality. There was a crossing at Catcott. There was never any kind of station though. Anyway, let's have a closer look. Here we are, around the front of Catcott Burtle. Built into a little, well, you saw the wider shot, sort of a diorama case, built-in lighting. That's little bulbs, 4 of them, running along the rear. I haven't filled in the top because operating it would be quite tricky, especially at an exhibition. So if I do operate it, I always take sunglasses. We'll just go through some of the details from left to right. The well-known Pico little goods shed. Excellent little kit, really quick to make. You can turn it into so many things. Obviously there's Mr. Dando checking his coal, seeing it hasn't been nicked overnight because security is pretty non-existent. Peat exchange there because there's not the peat moorland around here, so little narrow gauge trucks of peat come in. And then it's, I presume, wheeled across in the foreground and loaded onto wagons. That shed at the background, scratch built. Track is all C&L components. Fiddly, but well worth it. The halt is based on one that used to be at Stowpane and De Weston. It uses spring side white metal uprights, but with plastic hard top because they don't supply the top for some reason. The Catcott Burtle sign is scratch built. I believe there is a white metal casting bed with one of those if you don't want to be going on that road. Slater's letters. The little halt building is scratch. Then we go round to the right to the little level crossing. This bit just here is based on reality. Where I'm pointing the camera now is fiction. Little ground frame there, that's scratch built. But in fact, Kona Model Rail Centre do a little resin one of those if you don't want to be messing around scratch building. We've got the remains of what would have been the Glastonbury Canal in the foreground. In reality, it's a lot wider than this, but obviously, being a model, we have to compress things. Cyril Magwanglewurzel wouldn't be impressed with that. It would have to be exactly to scale if it was him. Concrete bridge, typical of the type on the levels. In reality, it's been rebuilt in recent years because this scene still exists, albeit without the gates and the line. The cottage is based on the one that's actually still there. It's a standard London South Western Railway crossing keeper hut design. And there's the crossing keeper lady. She's quite a glamorous lady. When she wasn't opening and closing the gates, she was a witch and a psychic healer in nearby Glastonbury. We call her Astral Zeneca, because she's very good at removing viruses from old apple trees with wassailing and all that sort of stuff. This is one of my favourite views, just looking up like that. People did a lot of their own growing vegetables back in the olden days, because obviously after the war, rationing was still a thing for several years. And it makes a pretty little scene here. The cottage is scratch built completely. I've just noticed there is a missing coping stone off the roof. I'll have to build it and make a new one, probably just a little bit of plastic. Vanishing point to the right behind a tree. This whole area is very flat. There were no overbridges, so it was the only way I could really mask the exit points. If I go around here, you can see the hole in the sky, something I absolutely loathe on model railways. So, but from normal viewing, it disappears behind the tree. It's unlikely there'd be such a big tree at that location, but we have to obviously do things that aren't always exactly to scale or reflecting the location. And where are we here? Oh yes, go some of the details again. The road is Daz clay, painted with emulsion, and I picked out some of the little bits in slightly different coloured tones of grey to suggest repair. Grass is the usual static grass. When I did this in 2008, static grass was quite a new thing, but now it's pretty standard. The sedge, is it called sedge, or reeds and stuff? I'm no expert. That's just plumber's hemp that's been dyed, different coloured and plonked in place. The water is PVA over paint. All the brambles and stuff are just polyfibre horsehair. The stuff that used to be in old cars, horsehair. You can buy it from model suppliers. Been covered in flock. A few little pieces of balsa used for the backs of the coaling area. So that's about it really. Operation is literally trains coming from the left and vice versa, stopping, maybe shunting the odd wagon around. It's quite easy to run. Yeah, there we go. Hope you enjoy this little view of Catcott. I'll just move back to get a wider view. It may go on the road again. I don't exhibit much, but certainly not at the moment anyway. But it's all ready, apart from the fiddle yards, to be exhibited. So there we go. I shall now handle over to Cyril Magwanglewurzel. Anyway, you know what I mean. He will have his critic thoughts on the layout. So over to Cyril.
It's Cyril Magwanglewurzel here. I've offered my services because I am an expert on all things of everything. So I bought my special my tweed jacket, which I always wear when I judge a model railway show, especially fine scale ones. Excuse me, I've got a little bogey up here. Just wipe on the back seat and they won't notice, will they? Anyway, my thoughts about this, well, it's not P4 and the owner doesn't wear a tweed jacket enough, so I'm going to give it 2 out of 10. And, you know, I mean, you can't fit the Somerset Dorset line into 5 feet. That's just, it's just rubbish. So, that's it really. I'm going to suggest he sets fire to it at next firework night, or make sure the local church has a nice big fire for their Guy Fawkes night, and we all burn it out. So, that's from me, Cyril Magwanglewurzel. Remember, I always know best, and everyone loves a Cyril, don't they? And I'm watching you, remember that.
Today we're going to talk about Catcott Burtle, a 5-foot diorama box with a